Meeting Amherst Township Trustees called to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call: Abraham.
Here.
Lynch.
Here.
Uhrig.
Yes.
And I just want to mention to everybody, our fiscal officer, Chris Kish, isn't here this evening. It's her 30th wedding anniversary. She did say she'd make it if we really needed her, and we thought we could let her take the night off and spend it with her husband. So Georgianne's filling in on the minutes, and Rose Betchker is handling the technology.
Okay. Amherst Township meeting minutes, April 27th, 2021. Regular meeting of the Amherst Township Trustee. Meeting called to order at 7:02 p.m. by Chairman Lynch. Pledge to the flag. Roll call: Abraham, Lynch, Uhrig, Kish, present. Others in attendance: Case, Marsh, Arsprone, G. Lynch, C. Nyhart. 4-5-21, motion by Uhrig, second by Abraham, to approve the minutes of the April 13th, 2021 regular meeting as corrected. Roll call: all ayes. 4-6-21, motion by Lynch, second by Uhrig. Move to approve that the March 2021 credit card account transaction detail has been reviewed per policy and is accepted as presented, subject to investigation. Roll call: all ayes. 4-7-21, motion by Uhrig, second by Abraham. Move to approve the bills and financial reports, noting that payment 205-2021 is voided. Roll call: all ayes. Audience concerns: none. Correspondence: Fiscal Officer Kish noted we received a letter from Community Development Director Rob Duncan asking for potential wish lists of infrastructure projects due to dollars that could be received with the proposed federal infrastructure bill. Wish lists are due by May 15, 2021. Trustee Lynch noted that Sheriff's Committee made a request for the usage of the Township Hall one time every other month by a group of retired elected officials. There will be no food or drinks during this meeting. Trustee Lynch will get more information on the number of attendees, dates, etc., opening, closing that would potentially be in attendance, and get back with Sheriff's Committee. Trustee Lynch will get more information for the next meeting. Reports: ambulance meeting scheduled for Thursday, June 17th at 7 p.m. at Amherst Fire Department. For zoning: 10 permits for the month, 1 new home year to date. Zoning Commission meeting on May 4th, 2021. Potential sale of the golf course with different uses. Fire Prevention Officer had no report. Roads, Parks, and Cemetery. Kay and Linda were crack sealed this morning. Washout on the culvert on Dewey Road repaired. Mowing in cemeteries and parks. Electrical trench across the road. The topsoil almost complete. Scheduled for Thursday to take the van out to Truck Shelving America to get the new van equipped. Chip and seal program with the county is going to be advertised on May the 7th with bid opening on May 25th. No job will be started till after July 1st. Was called out to Stang Road for a fallen pole with a phone line that was laying across the driveway. In the absence of Administrator Ashley, Trustee Lynch presented 2 grant opportunities that could be available. The Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council Green Ribbon Grant that could provide up to $2,500 for Township Hall Light Efficiency Improvement Project, and a Lorain County Health Grant that could provide up to $5,000 for projects and programs that promote health, such as the park playground equipment. Administrator Ashley and Road Superintendent Marsh will work on the grant applications. Phase 2 stormwater. Trustee Lynch noted that Ingle Ditch Phase 3 and 4 are waiting for the bid specifications from the engineer. Looking forward, the Batten House Ditch will be the next project. Amherst Township is in a joint permit with Lorraine County and the other unincorporated communities that are required to meet the MS4 OEPA stormwater requirements. Don Romanchak will be requesting reports from the township looking for any changes based on the new standard. Complaints? Trustee Lynch noted that packets contained the legal opinion for the 6606 Hidden Tree Lane issue. Complaints are being handled by the designated individual. Old business, Trustee Gurick noted he did attend the consortium meeting and not too much new was discussed. It was a relatively uneventful meeting. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be held Tuesday, May 11th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall. For 8:21, motion by Lynch, second by Abraham, to adjourn at 7:48 p.m. Roll call, all ayes.
Okay, are there any changes or corrections to the April 27th meeting minutes?
I have none.
I have none.
I have a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Roll call, Urick,
Yes.
Abraham,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
You'll cover the financials?
Yeah, I'll cover the financials and Georgianne. Okay, you do have in front of you the payment register listing all the payments. Also, we've got the revenue summary. Year-to-date, we've received $682,801.77, and expenditures, $346,023.36. As far as the payment listings, the only two that are out of the norm would be Advent Cutting Technologies, and that was the modification to the van that Kevin had brought up at the last meeting, and then the GT Contracting, which was the crack sealing of Kay and Linda, which Kevin also brought up at the last meeting. So this was just paying those bills. So beyond that, I don't know that I could answer any specifics if you have specifics on one particular bill, but you will be signing the backup information here shortly. Are there any comments on financials?
I have no comments.
Okay, then can I have a motion to pay the bills and approve the financial reports with reservations?
So move.
Second.
Roll call, Urick,
Yes.
Abraham,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes. Okay, and Chris didn't leave you anything else then, right, Georgianne?
No.
Okay. All right, normally we'd welcome any members from our community here, but seeing none other than township employees, it might be a quick meeting. We're going to move on to correspondence and announcements. David?
I have nothing at this time under correspondence.
Okay.
I have nothing
Any?
either.
And you said Chris didn't leave you any?
No.
Okay. Well, I do have several. One, just a reminder, at our next meeting, May 25th, we will have the bid opening for South Dewey Road at 7:30 p.m. We also will have a new candidate for the Board of Zoning Appeals at that meeting, Bruce Hills, who lives over on Quarry Road in Amherst Township, because we're aware that we've got one member we're going to lose shortly. I think she might have one more month, and then her and her husband, oh, she's already
They're
moved?
gone, yes.
Okay. So Terry Repp and Guy have moved out of the township. They were previously up on Telegraph. They've moved into I believe in the city of Amherst.
Correct.
And so Terry has to leave the board. Jones indicated probably after she finishes her term this year, she probably won't re-up for another 5-year term. So she served us for quite a long while. So
Who's
that's
that?
going to, Joan Whitman.
Oh.
And so we've got some alternates step up, but we'd like to have 7 people. And so there have been different candidates put out. The trustees have seen those in the emails. And I happened to call Bruce first, who was recommended for one. I worked with him before, so I've got some tie there. The other individuals I will approach, unless David or Denny, if you know them, it might help if you approach them. You've seen the list of potential candidates. Otherwise, I'll be cold calling them. I don't know any of the individuals on there. It's pretty simple as far as what their backgrounds are, but they're all township residents. And but anyway, next week Bruce will be, or 2 weeks from now, Bruce will be here, so you guys can meet him, and if you have any questions of him, and I'll have a resolution prepared there. Also, and I'm only going to cover the correspondence that's not an agenda item, but I do have to mention the trustees. After the agenda was printed, we did receive correspondence that would require a resolution of support, so we'll cover that under new business. But moving through the correspondence, the first item in your packet, and you have received, or no, you have not received the email communication. I see you're not copied on this. The trustees had discussed in the past about the transfer of Oberlin Road from the township to the county. We never really understood how that ended up in the township as it is, since it currently, for the portion from State Route 113 to Middle Ridge, interconnects a state route and a county route. And it's the only section, other than a small piece in Oberlin, that currently isn't county road. As you cross over 113, it becomes county road. And I know we had this, Denny had approached County Engineer Ken Carney sometime in the past when the trustees discussed this and was moving forward, but other things, you know, took precedent over that. So this got put on the back burner. But since then, we've resurrected the investigation. And so I've had the discussions with Bob Kleiber, but we also want to take it all the way up to North Ridge. At this point in time, Bob seems pretty agreeable to it, but he does have a question. We're out searching through all the records over the history. He sees for sure in the 1800s this used to be a county road. And he asked if I knew any reason why it would have been changed, and I told him, Bob, I don't know. And he asked me to talk with Denny and David, and I said, I'll do that at this meeting, but I would have thought if they knew why it was changed, they would have spoken up already. So I don't know, either you guys know the history?
I don't have any idea.
I just know this used to be called Jenny Road.
It was, what's that?
Jenny Road.
Jenny?
Jenny. Jenne.
Jenny Road.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's interesting. Okay, well then the next thing I'll do is, I told Bob that an old timer I can think of that might know is Charlie Warrior. You know, I would have, unfortunately, the others I thought were involved in the township and might have known. Most of them have passed on by now. But I'm hoping Charlie might know. And if he doesn't, we'll just keep moving on forward. And then coupled with that, where it's important on the timing to get this done in the right sequence, we had the discussion of the Spline Road for the new sandstone development of also being to the county. Well, to meet their typical requirement that you interconnect either other county roads or a state route, well, that would interconnect with State Route 58 and then Oberlin Road. Well, only if it's a county road could they take that. And our logic is development can't really occur till that Spline Road's in place. Other than a few homes down on Oberlin Road, that front Oberlin Road, most of the development is on some tertiary streets that will all be township responsibility. Well, because that road of approximately a mile long has to be put in first, the County Board of Commissioners were looking at funding that with TIF dollars, because obviously and this was the previous, two of the county commission have changed over, so this was a previous board decision, but I would suspect the current board, can't speak for them, but there's a good chance they would probably support it too. They haven't done anything to stop it, because they see the benefits of the county and to their revenues. So they actually would use tax incremental financing to fund that road. But what that does is normally those tax dollars would go, in this case, to Amherst Exempted Village School District, Amherst Township, some of the metro parks. Well, the property owner will still pay the taxes, but there'll be diverted to fund that road. So that's our logic. If the township in that time also isn't receiving revenue, but we would have the burden of maintaining the road, so we're looking at, that would be the advantage of switching that to county, since the county wants to put tax incremental financing, the benefit the county as a whole, which we're not opposed to, well, then they should actually take the cost burden also of the road. But that's not a decision of county commissioners, that's a decision of the county engineer. And the county engineer, for their typical requirements, it's got interconnect, county roads or county and state roads. So this will actually allow that to happen. So I just want you guys to be aware that conversation is still continuing, and right now it's looking positive. But Bob doesn't want to be in a position, if there's some obscure reason that none of us can determine, that would cause a problem to switch back. We want to find that out ahead of time. At this point, we don't really know. And then Kevin, since I thought I had copied you on this, you'll see in there also some of the detailed description as far as the roads themselves. In storm events, we're suggesting here, though that still has to be worked out in agreement with the county engineer, which the revised code does allow us to do, we may still have you and your crew take care of plowing and salting and whatnot. Then if you see emergencies, if there's still any more of the, usually it's the open ditches that you'll see the emergency get plugged up and flood. If you're already here, it's easier for you guys to clear that than to call the county and wait till a crew comes out. Meanwhile, it's our property owners and our roads that are getting flooded. And then as far as the salting and plowing, you got to run down the road anyway, so dropping the plow won't cost anything. The salt obviously will be there, but we might be able to work out something where they pay material, we go ahead and apply it since we're going down the road, and that'll make the road safer for the public that's traveling along the roads to get that done versus having a county person come through it. Okay, so that's the thinking right now. They would take care of patching, resurfacing, striping, road sign replacement, berming, all the other things that you guys do. Okay, the next item, I was surprised Tom Mangan had told me the litigation for the Amherst sandstone development was settled, but there was just one final thing here where you have in your packet the notice with the signature of Judge Chris Rothgary showing that the case is closed. So now it is officially closed and filed with the clerk of courts. Okay, the next item of correspondence here, I need some help here from the trustees and make sure we have agreement, or at least 2 out of 3. You heard in a minute that Chris Kish, our fiscal officer, received a communication from Lorraine County Community Development Director Rob Duncan of putting down projects that we would like to see, infrastructure projects, in anticipation that there will be federal dollars from a new infrastructure bill getting pushed through. There's no guarantee of if that will come through or how much will come through, but they don't want to wait and then have a drop down. They want to get prepared ahead of time throughout the county. The trustees discussed several items at the last meeting. I've expanded on some of that. There are 7 items here. I want to make sure this is complete before sending it in. Make sure you guys agree to it. This is due at the county by May 15th. Today's May 11th. They had also asked in that communication, which is at the back of the document you have that's stapled there, the 3 pages, or is it 3 or 4 pages, is they'd also asked that we try and put it in a priority listing. We didn't discuss that at our last meeting, so I had put it in a priority listing of what personally I thought would bring the most advantage to our township, our residents, both now and particularly in the long-term future, since these are infrastructure projects. And since knowing that the infrastructure, when you mention infrastructure, based on the definition that the federal government's currently using, they're talking water, sewer, transportation, communication, and clean energy. So of these 7 items that are listed here, I put the specific infrastructure they'd be addressing. The very first one is the sanitary sewers for the JED area, that approximately, I believe that it is 62-acre area that the township has a JED on at the State Route 2 intersection with Middle Ridge and Broadway. Currently, the county is hoping to send sewers under Route 2 there, since they extended sewers for the Carvana project. But again, they're looking at tax incremental financing when a developer eventually comes in to procure that property to fund it. If you receive infrastructure funds, and this project is also more fresh in a lot of people's minds, the preference, I would think, would be let's use the federal dollars versus our local dollars, and let those local dollars stay with the schools and all the other entities that currently receive property taxes for it. The second item, and I guess I should have asked you guys, did you guys have a chance to review this ahead of time? 'Cause I'd emailed this out to you.
A little bit.
Okay, the next item is transportation and sewers. This is for the sandstone development we're just talking about. That would be between Overland Road 58, State Route 113, those boundaries, that 264-acre area. The transportation one would be, again, with the Spline Road, instead of using TIF dollars. Well, that's an infrastructure project that promotes development. Use the federal dollars. So those local dollars can go for what they were originally intended for. And then with the development itself, currently there will be the commercial area of roughly 40 acres, plus the approximately 770 single-family units. That's obviously consuming our sanitary capacity. There's plenty of capacity there, but realize every gallon you use here is less for the other developable areas, and it doesn't give you any leeway in terms of if there's some sort of leak, somebody illicitly discharges stormwater into the sanitary, which, let's face it, that happens. People tap into those things in their home, they use them for draining their yards, and we know that's going to happen. Well, that gives a potential backups for people that are further downstream. So if this is the case, perhaps we can preserve some of that capacity and put in an appropriate infrastructure to prevent that, where we can balance out those sanitary flows during stormwater events or illicit connections by putting in an equalization basin. Similar, though not as big as the one that was put in over there on K Drive, and get that planned ahead of time. So that's where this one I put down as both a transportation and sanitary. The third one, we're all aware that there's been that interest from IRG and previously others to develop the Amherst quarries at Beaver Creek. But the big bugaboo there is sewers. Now, this board has already approved a package plan for that area. But because the developer believes for just their project, which, it's a 900 acres between the village of South Amherst, Amherst Township, and Brownhill Township, that will be very economically feasible. But both the village of South Amherst and the previous Board of County Commissioners, I don't know where the current one would stand. They disagreed with the package plan. And we understand their logic. Their logic isn't beneficial to Amherst Township, but they would like sanitary sewers there because that opens up the whole western side of Lorain County. and also would provide sanitary sewers to the village of South Amherst. So we understand why they object to package plant, but we also know to get the sewers, they want to fund the sewers, again with tax incremental financing, and who pays that? In this case, Fireland Schools in Amherst Township are the largest ones that would give funds, and as I've explained to the previous county administrator, Amherst Township would be helping to pay for this, but we would not receive $1 in benefit from it. I understand the rest of the county would benefit. I understand the village of South Amherst would benefit, but we represent Amherst Township. So if these dollars, if the county receives these infrastructure dollars, perhaps they can use those federal dollars for that sanitary sewer versus our local dollars. The next one is Hampshire Farms, sanitary sewers there, not for Hampshire Farms, that development will pay for their own sewers. But again, the commissioners wanted to extend those sewers along Overland Road to take current household hazardous waste treatment systems and put them on a central collection system. But that would put a burden on those individual homeowners. Not a large number, but there's a few of them there. And then, you know, obviously they'll be upset because in their mind they're paying for the development. Well, they aren't. It has nothing to do with the development. The developer and all the future homeowners are paying for their sewers, but the county's looking at this of preventing a future problem or tightening of the screws by the EPA in terms of on-lot systems. So if the sewer was going in now, the county wanted to extend it along Overland Road. Well, again, this is just requesting, if you receive these infrastructure dollars, go ahead and do it, but now, instead of putting the cost on our residents, you know, in this case, a small group of residents, let the federal dollars pay for it. 5, again, is a joint transportation sanitary sewers. In our comprehensive plan, and also in coordination of a previous interest in that quarry's property, is we show another east-west road interconnector at least between State Route 58 and Kyle South Amherst, but then when there was the interest in the quarry's property at one time, there was talk about continuation all the way to the quarry's project. So again, as opposed to tax incremental financing, is these dollars could be used for that. And then when we went through the last comprehensive plan update, we know that the current sewers, that sewer district does not cover that whole area. Well, this would also use this to expand that, whether it's putting in additional lines the whole way, whether it's upgrading the lines that are there, whether it's equalization basins, that's up to the engineers in reviewing that site to decide what to do. Number 6, this is water line replacement in some of the older areas of the township, and we had discussed this between Dewey Road, Broadway, Taylor Street, Northridge, Pinehurst, Kay, and Linda. Again, that would be an opportunity to get those replaced without putting the burden onto the residents. And then the last one is just if the dollars would be eligible, but I don't know if they'll consider this a full infrastructure project or just ongoing maintenance, is the replacement of concrete roads and, you know, where we can actually get a larger replacement, extend our stormwater lines where there is no storm sewers there now, Kevin, like we did on some of the others where we borrowed money to do that. But if the federal dollars are eligible, maybe we can get some major road replacement versus replacing pads and doing it patchwork. So those are the 7 items so far. So there's 2 things I'm going to ask of you guys. 1, do you agree with the priority? And 2, are there any other items we're missing? Because this is due May 15th and today's May 11th.
The only thing I could add, it just jumped into my mind as you were speaking, and that would be possibility installation of streetlights. That would be large money. And the second comment would be, I'm under the impression infrastructure is more for existing maintenance and repair. There's only two items on the list that are really existing maintenance and repair, and that would be for what you have listed for the water line and the major concrete replacement. And all the rest are all new construction, for the most part, is what I can see.
Now,
That's
that
my
hasn't-
comment on it.
That hasn't been the history of these federal dollars for infrastructure, David. As a matter of fact, two of the items they have in there, such as for the communication and clean energy. Communication, what they're predominantly talking about is broadband. And to get that, that's definitely new. And for clean energy, what they're really looking at is a promotion of battery charging stations, promote the infrastructure for the transition to electric vehicles. So just by that fact, new infrastructure projects are good. So I would think that the ones that are listed will benefit many more people and give us more bang for our buck than just go out and, start resurfacing streets and replacing existing. So it doesn't prevent us from replacing existing. Okay? But I'll put down the street light installation. Was there any specific area wanted? Because it's nice because it might improve safety, and reduce some crime, but on the other hand, this one's always gonna have a cost to us too. But is there a particular area for the street lights, or are you talking about?
General for the township, I think.
Okay, but
That's
not any
something to look at. That would
specific.
be a major money draw to install streetlights. If you could get them installed, you may be able to get money to have them installed, you may be able to get money to maintain them. It'd be easier to do that than it would be to have to pay for the installation and then,
But also the
maintenance and repair.
conversion
I'm
to,
sorry?
the conversion to clean energy by changing them. You gotta meet the definition here. But is there any specific area in the township?
no, I'm thinking general. Something in general. Let me ask another question of you. Is there an area that doesn't need them, that wouldn't be better off with?
I don't know that I would add any streetlights along Oberlin Road, Pile South Amherst, Middle Ridge, North Ridge. I'm trying to think where I would add them. Maybe a few on Dewey, but, right now, we've got them all at the intersections. I would definitely prefer the one at Oberlin Road going north at Middle Ridge to be moved, because the current light is at where the intersection used to be, not where it is.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I don't know that I would add any. So that's why I'm asking you, where would you want to add them? Because the question's going to come back on, if they get the funding.
Personally, Neil, I think the 7 items that you have addressed are on point, on target, and I agree with all of them.
I think a general street lighting program. I think, look at that, it's, as you put on the list, if you get it, you get it, you don't, I don't think,
Okay, but
it's a given.
when you start tying it down, just say general street lighting, explain it, because what they're asking for is just give a few sentences, and if they get the funding, they come to your list, they will work with you in preparing the grant application. So now assume we're sitting here with this grant application, we can't write a grant application and say general street lighting. So where, I can definitely see upgrading the existing street lights to a more efficient
Oh, yeah.
fixtures. But if you're talking about installation of new ones, where are you referring to putting them? You just asked me where I wouldn't put them, and I gave you a very specific list. I could go on more if you wanted them. So now I'm asking you, where would you put them?
All over, just Come
all
with your
over, it, what
standards.
distance, how many, what's the logic of where you put them in? Because again, for every one you put up, we pay for, and I guarantee you, whoever's yard it goes into is probably going to complain because you just dropped a pole into their yard. So, where? Right now, our street standards that we have is they're all intersections and all sharp curves. And I believe the distance is no more than 400 feet for new construction.
What we're looking at, Neil, is just
All right.
do a universal, what I'm asking for is universal streetlight coverage, something to look at.
What distance, how many, what density? David, I've
You
got
want
to
something
fill in some
specific.
sentence. I have to
Okay.
put some sentences in here to meet what they required. I don't want to put something in that makes us look silly. You know, I get the community development director calls and says, can you expand on that a little bit? I'm confused. I'll say, I don't know, talk to David, he confused me too. I can understand if we say converting to more efficient lighting, the one where the intersection of Overland Road North and Middle Ridge got moved, I can see moving that. And it'd be nice, because if it got moved, it doesn't interfere with the residential property. But anything else,
So
I
what you're
guarantee
saying
you, you
is-
start putting poles in people's
you're
yards
saying
with
that-
lights, some might be happy, but most, I suspect, are going to complain.
So what you're saying is, due to a lack of specific plans, you can't include, we can't really include a universal street lighting. You'd almost have to have project-ready plans, is what you're saying.
You want a project, and I just want to know, you know, if you're telling me that you determine that we're better off putting them at a 200-foot distance versus our current 400. I don't know if that's good or bad. But, you know, what would I fill in here in 2 to 3 sentences to explain what we want versus general street lighting?
I tried to keep it as simple as possible, Neil, but that's basically what the thought was,
Okay.
to come up with for all streets.
How about if I put in conversion of existing street lights to more efficient,
You could put that down,
Fixtures,
that's fine, but,
in
that's not,
addition to the
not the intent.
relocation of Overland Road North at the intersection with Middle Ridge?
fine.
Okay.
You can put what you want there.
All right. I'll get this completed. It'll be under my signature then, but on behalf of the Board of Trustees, and get it, I'll email it in. Bear with me here. Okay.
Once again, Neil, I feel the list is very reflective of studies and things that we have done in the past, and I agree with it completely.
Thanks, Denny. Okay, that's all I had for general correspondence. We'll move on. Ambulance, Denny?
June 17th is our meeting date. It's going to be held 7 p.m. at the Amherst Fire Station. That's June 17th at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Fire Station.
All right, thank you. And Deputy Lawson's not here. He did send out a sheriff report. I did not review it. I think was it yesterday? The day before it came out.
Yesterday.
Okay. But I'll just encourage you guys to look at his report. Zoning, Remy?
We had 6 permits. We had 2 new houses, so now the new houses will stand at 3 for the year. The new houses were north and south on Overland Road. north and south of 113.
Thank you, Remy.
Okay, and just, Remy, I wasn't sure, where's the site plan review stand for, Mr. Bourne's project where he wanted to put up another building mirroring the one that he had?
I have not heard any correspondence with Mr. Bourne at all.
Okay. Yeah, I'm only asking because the zoning commission at their meeting asked about this, and, you know, I really didn't know.
I tried to call Mr. Bourne, but he doesn't seem to, maybe he's really busy.
Yeah, this is the time of year he would be.
Yeah, so,
Gotta call him in the wintertime. Okay, we'll move on, and I see I have it marked wrong. I have 4th quarter 2020. It's actually, you have in your packet, the fire and EMS, information and data for the first quarter 2021, from Fire Chief Wilhelm, showing a total of, 66 calls, for the first quarter of the year. And it's split up where you've got the both north and south of the turnpike, so we've been keeping that set up that way. North of the turnpike was the, looks like 43%, and south of the turnpike was 23%. And then you see the splits as far as whether they were fire calls, EMS, first responders, in the pie chart there. The 66, if you figure 4 times that, is 264 for the year, which is just slightly below our 5-year average of 276.
Now, what was that 51,000 to Amherst Fire? What was all that about? That's the fire,
That's a
first
quarterly.
quarter? That's the first quarter? Or-
I'm not sure if yes, it is the first quarter. Yes. Okay, any other questions?
So if we interpolate that out, we're looking at about 200,000 a year.
It could be because the agreement is a minimum of 176,000. And then we pay per call. Earlier or late last year, we actually had increased amount, because I know the mayor had mentioned that he was concerned with the increased volume. But right now, we're going about average here. Okay. But it's always going to be a minimum of 176, David. Generally figure at 200,000, probably close to it, which we're just kind of keeping even with the revenue coming in right now. If we ever receive any of those American Rescue funds that townships don't get $1 on, it, you know, that might help with that, you know. It might be able to help purchase new vehicles instead of having to pay through the contract. Okay, we'll move on to roads, parks, and cemeteries. Superintendent Smarsh.
With the parks and cemeteries is just ongoing mowing. With the cemeteries, I have had a couple of calls this past week, from late last week into the beginning of this week, for a handful of lots that are possible to be sold. Needed to do a little bit more homework, and they were going to get back with me at the end of this week. But yeah, we've been keeping up with the mowing. That's going along pretty good, considering the amount of rain that we've had.
Yeah.
It actually, I think with all the water, it slowed it down a little bit in many spots. On the roads, all typical actions have been taking place here, nothing too crazy happening. We did have the lights in the garage changed out to the LED. That was with that NOPEC grant that we were working with. Linda and I was working on to get that taken care of. Well, that project is complete. They completed it today. It's a major improvement in the shop. And
Easier to see stuff when you work on fine detail, isn't it?
it's just amazing how much less light there is in the sense, but so much more lighting. You know, you had that big stretch of almost 20 foot of light down to 2 foot, and it's giving off even more light than that.
Yeah.
They did an excellent job, real neat, even with the demo, and that brings up another point. All of the old fluorescent fixtures and bulbs are, you know, sitting on the floor there. They're not worth, you know, much of nothing at all.
Get rid of them.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I could take them to Elyria and,
Yeah, 'cause and they've got the mercury in them anyway. We don't want to deal with it.
right. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, no, you're right. They're worth nothing, and the worst is then you break them and you got a mess.
Exactly. Very good. There was, a couple of weeks ago, there was a tree that was reported in the ditch on the north side of, the angled ditch, right on the, north side of the old railroad tracks. And, I met with, Don Romankik and, Matt. to-
Arnold.
Yes. That was today we met up, and within the past 3 storms that we had quite a bit of water, it didn't restrict a whole lot except smaller material, and it didn't really back up any water any more than what was on the north side of the tree itself. But we did take a look at it. We're gonna keep monitoring it, and it's something that we're not going to jump on right away. If it does turn into being an issue, then it will be taken care of right away, but they do have a list right now of some things that are actually backing up water, so they're gonna get that stuff taken.
You had just reported the last meeting where they cleared all the fallen trees that were crossing the ditch before. So this one's actually off to the side. It's not fully crossing it, or?
Yeah, it's basically crossing it the whole way,
Oh.
but it's just the top of it, say, you know, it's kind of fallen along with the ditch.
Gotcha, but it might snag other stuff and then dam it up.
Correct.
That's in the Ingle ditch,
Yes,
and the tree is north of the ditch?
north of the tracks. If you was on the south side of the tracks and you look through the culvert, you could see the tree and what it's, you know, starting to block up a bit. The old railroad tracks right here.
Yeah. So it's on the other side of the tracks.
Correct.
This wasn't in the section we had cleaned, is it?
No.
Okay, now it makes more sense. Is this back of Harper's back in there?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, and
we
it's,
always have problems with log jams
Well, there
and
was a
trees
log
down
jam.
and something in that area.
there was a log jam there that we cleared out.
And that wasn't the first log jam back there.
No, there's been some log jams there. It comes through that culvert and it starts to make a whirlpool right there. You can see it's a big pool there, and it just starts eroding a little bit more. This tree was on the edge, which was not on the edge when we pulled that last dam out of it, or the log jam out of there. But it just eroded more, and it's happened. Someday we can get through there and get that cleaned out, and it would definitely help that as well. But that's all I have at this time.
Okay, any questions for Kevin?
No, I have no
I
questions.
will
of
tell you,
Kevin.
Kevin, we had all that rain, especially on that Sunday,
Sunday.
all the rain. I went out a couple of times to see how both the Baden House and Engel were doing. I wasn't there in the worst time of day, I can tell you that. Earlier on, it was okay. It was well within the banks. At the end of the day, it was right up to the banks, but it didn't overflow. Now, I can't tell you it never crested the bank, because I wasn't there at the worst time. But I never saw it flood over Stang Road or Overland Road. I drove both of them where it typically would flood.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it was a nice, steady rain, but you saw once the ground became saturated, those creeks were filled up, but they just kept moving,
Yeah.
which was good.
You know, I was checking that out throughout the day, And the last time that I had looked, would have been at somewhere around 9 o'clock that night, just with the lighting of this intersection, and it did not, you know, if it did come out and over the top, it was just right there at the top. But never, and that's got to be close to the time from there to midnight where it would have raised, you know, that much more, because, you know, the rain had stopped, and then it gives it another hour to 2 hours where it, like, makes its peak, and then it starts to recede from there, and then the larger ones start raising up after that.
Yeah, most of the rain stopped just a little bit before 8. So but again, it was one of those things, you watch it and,
Yeah, because there was a lot of rain.
okay. All right, well, good. I'm glad you're able, I'm sure with Don now focused on stormwater and Matt there, it makes it nicer to get a response. Because he's
That
not
was so nice.
doing 20 different things now.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
it's strictly the stormwater.
Quick, and they told me about the project, you know, with everything being logged in and how we could follow catch basins and storm sewers, and they gave me a little briefing on that. That's gonna be real nice.
Okay, good. Well, just for David and Denny, if you guys see the commissioners or county administrator, let them know how well that's working. You appreciate Don and Matt being able to come out and give their time versus before. They had those guys doing too many different things, I think. So it just, you know how that is. Nothing's ever done well, and you don't get happy customers because you just got too much on your plate.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Okay, for Township Administrator and Senior Services, Director Ashley.
We already touched on a couple of the grants. The Health District grant is due 5/19, which is next Wednesday, I believe. The only issue that I'm seeing with that is that they really want you to work with a coordinating agency, and it is a point system. But the coordinating agency only is 5 points. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in for the playground equipment and let them deduct the 5 points, and let's see where it goes.
I wonder what they consider a coordinating agency.
I'm not real sure. I'm looking into all that right now, so
Okay.
we'll try. Kevin's been in touch with, or has been trying to get in touch with the company for the playground equipment to get us an estimate, because we need, what do we need? The slide, the tunnel for the slide, we need some platforms. So we're trying to get an estimate so that I can add that in there. But that'll be due next Wednesday. The event sponsorship, and I'm going to put this off on Kevin again. We need to get a cubic yard grinding estimate, and that's due 6/30, which is June 30th, and that's for a $1,500 sponsorship through NOPEC, and that's the one that needs a third-party entity to get paid instead of, they won't pay the township specifically, and we used that money last year for dumpster days. So that's the one that we're working on for that. The Green Ribbon Award is up to $2,500, and that application opens June 1st, and that's the lighting that Kevin was just referring to. Butchco finished the project. Any projects that were done from January 1st of 2020 till May 31st of 21 are eligible to be submitted to get this grant, for the $2,500, or this award, I should say, for the $2,500. So if Butchco can get us his bill and Chris can pay it by the end of the month, so at the 25th meeting, we should be good. Everything should be set. Then I will apply for the distribution of the $12,272 or whatever that is for the NOPEC monies to reimburse for Butchco's payment. And I think, what did that leave us, like $1,800 coming out of our general fund, I think? I didn't write the numbers down, so I'm just kind of doing it off the top of my head.
There was $12,172
Okay.
for the grant itself.
And it was like 13.5, something like that. Is it? Do you remember, Kevin? Something around there, right?
Yeah. Seems like
And then the
it.
2,500 we could potentially use to do another section for the lights, like the, part of the
Right.
hall or the offices or whatever. And then as far as the Hidden Valley litigation against the city of Lorraine for the sewer, We do have a court settlement date of the 21st of May, which is next Friday, at 10 a.m. at the courthouse in the Justice Center in Elyria. So anybody who would like to come is more than welcome. And
That's
that's
the
just-
same date you gave before, right? Because I
Yes,
think that's
yep.
on my schedule.
Yeah, Friday the 21st at 10 a.m.
That's May 21st?
Correct,
Next Friday.
correct.
And that's for the lawsuit?
It's for the lawsuit, and it's for the settlement agreement between the Hidden Valley and the city of Lorraine, which just basically is that we're going to be under county for sewer.
And that's at 8 o'clock?
10.
10?
Mhm.
I've got to adjust my schedule, then I got it the wrong one.
10 o'clock.
I may have just put
Where
that
is
in
that gonna
the
be at?
clock as a placeholder, Neil.
Where is that gonna be at?
It's going to be in Elyria at the courthouse, at the Justice Center.
Really at the
Yeah.
courthouse?
And I don't know what floor it's on exactly right off the top of my head, but I can get you that information.
If you could give me that information, I would appreciate it.
Yep.
You just email it out, Linda?
Sure.
Because I've got it marked as the fairness hearing, but I
Nope.
see I've got the wrong time
I
here.
probably just put 8 o'clock in as a placeholder, so we knew
Okay.
to get the date and did not have the time.
But it is at 10. What
It is
time
at
will you
10.
be there?
I will probably be there by 9:30.
9:30.
Yes. That way we can, if Matt needs to, or the attorney needs to go over anything, we've got a little bit of time ahead of the hearing.
Now, that's gonna be at the courthouse.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else, Linda?
Nope, that's it.
All right, well, I do really appreciate you guys. I know that, like the NOPEC Green Ribbon Grant, that was gonna be tough here for the lighting. I'm sure that put pressure on both of you, because as Kevin reported at the last meeting, some of the light fixtures, due to handling, were damaged when they arrived, and there was a question if Butchco could get it done on time.
Right.
As Linda just pointed out, all the timing of, now we need the invoice, we need Chris to put the payment together, and the trustees to approve that at the next meeting, so that we're eligible for that grant, just because of the time window that's in there. And then hopefully, you're successful in putting things together, Linda, to help cover that. And, you know, it'd be nice to get that back versus using taxpayer dollars on it. That'd be wonderful, and then we get the long-term savings of, on the energy efficiency on
Right.
top of it.
And then potentially next year, we'll get another NOPEC money
Right.
in January, and if we just start stacking all of them together, maybe could pay for it.
Yeah, but now, hopefully, they'll give us some notice on this, if this green ribbon grant exists again, because that might impact timing of the project, because we're almost just out of that window.
Exactly,
You
exactly.
know, doing what we were doing. So fortunately, you're able to pull it off and get it done. I'm sure you guys are happy too in the garage. And it's nice too, they're instant on,
Yes,
you know, that's nice.
real nice.
And you know there'll be as we've shown, our real savings is not the energy. It's paying all the time to go up and change bulbs or change ballast. That's where our real cost is. Okay, any other questions for Linda?
No, I have no questions.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to stormwater. In your packet, or actually it's not in your packet, you just put copies in everyone's box on the notice of the ditch viewing.
Yeah, I only give it to the elected, and Kevin has a copy.
Okay. Yeah, there's, the letter's dated April 26th from the Lorraine County Board of Commissioners. They do have a ditch viewing here for, let me get the right one here. Most of this is gonna be in New Russia Township for the Batten House ditch. This is a petition process. It does impact some Amherst Township residents also. I don't know, it lists one property owner as initiating this, but I've been at the Stormwater Advisory Committee meetings, and I've never heard this brought up. But obviously, they're usually reviewing grant applications and the status of current projects where there was grant funding from the stormwater district, so they might, it's probably why they didn't bring this up. But I'm surprised that Russia Township didn't make an application for this, for that type of funding, but maybe that'll come in the future. But the hearing itself at the Board of Commissioners will be on Tuesday, June 15th at 9:30. So get this document out of your inbox and put that down on your schedule, at least to hear what's going on here, since this does impact some of our residents. The only concern I have will be timing, because if they're going to do some added work on the Batten House further to the south, is that going to move the water faster coming down to our area? Which, if you recall, when we were working with the county engineer's office, they had changed the sequence of our project, which we can only do a little piece at a time because of funding, to start up at the north end and work our way back. And that's why when we're finished here with the Engel project, we were going to go south along the Batten House ditch to get that. Well, Again, I don't know how this initiated. It might have been a property owner that has an issue there, and so it only takes one property owner to file a petition to the Board of Commissioners. That doesn't mean they'll approve it. After that public hearing, they'll get a flavor for what all the other residents that are impacted have to say. I've attended multiple hearings on these ditch projects, and typically what I hear is most people want the project done, they just don't want to pay for it. Because there is an assessment then that's put on them. So just mark your calendar and take a look at this one. But Kevin, so you're aware, this is going to impact us also on our roads and the drainage and what our project's going to be, because it'll be several years for us, even if we get approval on funding, to get that ditch maintained and cleared out on regular maintenance. Okay, we'll move on to complaints, and just so everyone's aware, that one there for Hidden Tree Lane, I just neglected to take that off. I presented the correspondence from the prosecutor's office at our last meeting. That's all complete. The third one there, Remy, this was a property maintenance complaint along on Levitt Road, 7512.
Right, that's still ongoing yet. I have to keep tabs on him to see his progress. I'll be checking on him tomorrow, going out there and kind of take a look and see what's going on.
Okay. And then the next one was the complaint about the off-road vehicle operation. The concern, this was actually down in the Hidden Valley subdivision, and I've had an additional correspondence with Assistant Lorraine County Prosecutor Dan Petticourt, who was out of town this past weekend, but he is going to get the information to us as far as what, if any, authority the townships even have and any regulation, which was the residents' question, but to my knowledge, there isn't any. It's going to come down to enforcement by the sheriff's office. And that enforcement's really if somebody's being, it's not necessarily the licensing here, it's whether they're reckless in their operation. But we'll see what the prosecutor gives us. I guess on that, David, I happened to run into David. It wasn't an arranged meeting. We were looking for Mother's Day cards, I think, and birthday cards. But you want to share, I believe you talked with Mr. Ruffner on this, who
I
made the
did
complaint.
receive a phone call from Mr. Ruffner, and I did give him a courtesy call back, and just advise him that we were looking into it, and we were waiting a letter from the prosecutor on this issue. And the only thing he shared with me, his feelings were that it's not a specific individual down there, it's rather a general situation.
Okay.
His concern was that, just running of motor vehicles, off-road motor vehicles on the township roads down there. Four-wheelers, motorcycles, unlicensed, and
All right, well, thanks, David, and as you're aware, our community policing officer, Matt Lawson's aware of this. And you've got a document with the last correspondence with Dan Petticourt in your packet there, in addition to Mr. Ruffner's original complaint. Okay, before we go on to new business, for all the standard agenda items that have specific assigned responsibility, is there anything that the trustees wish to discuss?
the only item under solid waste is that, I've heard nothing from the county, solid waste district as far as, the grants, what they're gonna do with the grants. I was told they thought by the 1st of May, and I've received no notification yet on that.
Well, maybe why don't you send, since they now have a director, send Mr. Blevins an email, David. Okay. And Remy, I neglected to mention, I know we don't have it on complaints, did you just want to mention the one litigation that's been settled?
Yes, that, we got the final, the final signatures from you three, and we do have a settlement agreement, and everybody's in agreement to it. We have to get the signature from our opponent, and it should be finished.
This is the property maintenance issue on a property that's south on Oberlin Road, south of State Route 113, on the west side of Oberlin Road.
Correct.
Okay. And if you guys have any specific questions for Remy, just address them on your own after this, since this still needs to be finalized in this settlement agreement. Okay, under new business, you do have in your packet an item that I expect and hope the board will support. We received a letter from Grant Thompson. Grant and his family own a little over 65 acres of property that's surrounded by Hidden Valley. It has access from Hidden Valley. It has access on Oberlin Road. I know people over there in the Pinehurst development, individuals have access. I don't know if there's any public access or easement that allows access to the property. And then the rear yards of those that live on North Ridge front, it also borders State Route 2. That's where you'll see the American flag that's painted on the sandstone up there. And the Thompson families discussed conserving that area, and though I missed the call from the Metro Parks Director, Jim Zemanek, he did call, and the park, Lorraine County Metro Parks, is interested in procuring that property, but it's all conditional on receiving a Clean Ohio grant. And then this would conserve this, it would be under the ownership and management of Lorraine County Metro Parks. It would conserve a nice area. I'm sure anybody that's a long-term Amherst Township resident has grown up there and been there, whether they had permission to be there or not. For long-term people, they can tell you all sorts of stories, some that their parents would not want to know about. I know this even affects my father-in-law, who is 87 now? 87, who, when he was a child, was back there when he shouldn't be, and had a significant injury, and had to feel the pain all the time because he couldn't tell his parents about it. But in any case, if the Metro Parks is able to obtain this property, it will be conserved, and then it's up to the Metro Parks to put access there for the enjoyment not only of township residents but also visitors. But Grant's asked that the Board of Trustees support this application. I prepared this resolution. This was last minute. I know unless you checked your email late this afternoon, you wouldn't have seen it ahead of time. I did put a copy of a map in there that outlines the property. It's outlined in yellow in your packet. And you can see where the two access points are on Overland Road and on Deepwood. There's also Grant's letter requesting our support and a suggested letter of support. So with that, I'll just open it up if the trustees have any comments.
No.
No, I have no comment at all. I've walked the property with Grant, and have talked to Grant, and I'm for it.
Okay,
I'm
good.
When did this all
for it.
happen?
Pardon?
When did this all happen?
Probably
I've heard-
about a year ago.
Heard talk, but I've just heard talk.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, Grant's been discussing this in his family for
Yeah,
some time,
I
David,
believe
so it might just be the timing. And they've now made a decision. I know they've had different ideas of what they wanted to do up there, but to me, this will be a real nice opportunity for our community. Okay, and then people can legally go back there. You know, and it'll also be monitored too, so no mischief. Unless they want to deal with the park police. Okay, well, with that then, there's a prepared resolution here to support the Lorraine County Metro Parks Clean Ohio Green Space Conservation Program Funds application for what's being called the Amherst Quarries Project. And I'm not going to read through the whereases, but it shows where they have the authority to apply for that grant in the revised code. The Thompson family, though they own it, this is in a limited liability corporation called Pepper Tree Properties, if you wanted to search on the properties. From what I can see, it adds up to about 65 3/4 of an acre. The property's all surrounded by development. So the motion, and I'll make this motion, is Section 1. Neil Lynch, Amherst Township Chairman, is hereby authorized to sign and forward a letter to the Ohio Public Works Commission District 9 Natural Resource Assistance Council on behalf of the Amherst Township Board of Trustees in support of Lorraine County Metro Parks application for OPWC Clean Ohio Conservation Program Fund to purchase and conserve an approximate 65-acre area of open space in Amherst Township identified in the table above. Lorraine County Metro Parks is encouraged to construct improvements on the property that would provide access to the property for Amherst Township residents and the surrounding communities, create an engaging natural area that would promote an active connection between visitors and the natural and cultural heritage of Ohio, and to preserve the wildlife population quality habitat area that have developed on the site. And the rest is boilerplate, but that'll be my motion.
Second.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, roll call, Georgianne?
Lynch,
Yes?
Urick,
Yes.
Abraham.
yes.
And do you have a number for that, Georgianne?
5321.
And Linda, I'm going to ask you, since you'll probably see Chris before us, to get a certified copy of the resolution. And also, probably just going to, with Grant, I've been corresponding with email and left him a voicemail, and I've had voicemails back and forth with Jim Zemanek, the director of Lorraine County Metro Parks. But if you could compose a letter similar to the one that's attached here, obviously reference the resolution number that the board approved. And I asked, since it doesn't show it, who do we actually send it to? And though we're asking the District 9 NRAC, Natural Resource Assistance Council Committee, which will be Lorraine County residents to approve this, he said, just send it to Lorraine County Metro Park. So, you know, we can forward this over once it's all done and signed, probably to Jim Zemanek by email.
So you want me to construct a letter?
Yes, so you can use a lot of what's on this back page, and you should have a copy there.
And send him the copy of the resolution too?
Right,
like
we want a
certified
certified
copy.
copy of the resolution to go with them, yes. Yeah, because they'll probably need that for the grant application. I know Jim's indicated even the Lorraine County Metro Parks Board hasn't approved their legislation yet on this, but he expects they will.
It'll probably be a few days for Chris to come in.
And that's, yes, I should have said that earlier. I did ask him, what's the time deadline? Their applications are due, he said, around Labor Day, so we've got
Oh, we've
time.
got
It's-
time.
Yeah, it won't be something that, you know, we have to worry about, but we want to give them plenty of notice, so we're done with it. They've got it in their file to put their application together.
I have a marked up copy. Chris can have it.
Okay, all right, I'll send her a text and hopefully she can pop in.
Okay. All right, with that, that is all the business we had, unless there's any other business. Okay, then our next regular meeting, I got that wrong, it's not the 11th. It'll be May 25th, 2021 at 7 o'clock. Any need for a work session that you see at this time? Okay. And you're aware, Kevin, the bids will be coming out soon for the chip and seal. I neglect at the Community Alliance road projects. Ken Carney was discussing the chip and seal project countywide. Okay, audience concerns? Any need for an executive session?
No, sir?
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Which one?
Dave, and I'll second it.
Roll call, Yurick,
Yes.
Abraham,
Yes.
and Lynch.
Yes.